everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Michael Lee. I'm the operating principal of Keller Williams Park Meadows. And today I've got Ryan Davis with us. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
Thanks. How long you been an agent?
Since 2012. So 13 years.
Awesome.
Right?
What made you decide to be an agent?
It's a fun story. So I was working for a local builder as an inside sales agent, which meant that I got to make phone calls to all of the registration cards of people who come into the sales office. I got to drive appointments back to them. Well, a large part of the business was calling realtors to try to find people who had buyers that were looking for new homes and educate them about those new homes. Well, after a few years of calling the ranks of agents, I had an epiphany. And that simply was, if these idiots can do it, I'm going to kill this end this business. And that's literally what it was. It was if they can do it, I'm going to kill it. So got my license, exited that business, started into real estate, and, put out 29 deals in my first year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's a crazy real estate story that you have for us?
Early on in my career, this is, you don't know what you don't know until it hits you in the face, right? I'm with a wonderful first-time homebuyer couple. She's pregnant. They're very excited, but they don't have a lot of money. So we're looking at a very specific neighborhood downtown. If you've ever heard of Globeville.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Globeville, right?
Globeville.
It just happened to be the price point in that area that fit their budget.
Globeville was 40 grand back in the day. And
dude,
it's like 400 grand.
Yeah, I think this one was this is like 2013. So it was like $160,000, right? It was still affordable. So, I called the agent to schedule a showing because there was no other instructions in the MLS on it. And they're like, yeah, go ahead and go on by. We've had some people there, cruise on in and just give me some feedback. There wasn't a lockbox code or anything like that. So I'm like, great. Red, dude, the flags are already.
If you see my face,
the flags are already going up.
Like,
I didn't
no
have those flags.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, I didn't have those flags at all. So we roll up and, walk through the gate, and it's still, walk down the pathway. And I'm just like, I'm starting to get like the vibes, the vibes were off. It was definitely weird. So open the front, I knock, and then I open the front door and say realtor as I walk in, and don't hear anything. Great. I get 3 steps in, and I can see into the living room, and there's like 3 people just passed out on the floor, and one of them's got a needle.
Oh no!
And the rubber hose, whatever the rubber hosing thing is around just right. So I just turn around, and I'm like, not the one for us, guys. Just hurried down because she hadn't got in the house yet. Right. So it was immediately like, turn. Boop, we're gonna piece on out and move on to the next one. But that was a pretty fun early, crazy story.
Did you call the agent and be like,
hell yeah, I called the agent. Yeah, man. I was like, you've got a crackdown going on right now. You better get somebody over here. And he had no idea, but it sounded like that he had never been in the house in it at all in itself. Right. It was wild, man.
Jeez.
It was wild.
That's crazy.
That's quite, yeah.
So tell me about your business. How'd you build your business?
A lot of trial and error, a lot of failure, right? Started doing, all of the things that, you're told to do and what you think all the other people say that you're supposed to do. So I, went down the expireds and the for sale by owner call lists and, joined a team for a very short amount of time that was, doing Boomtown paid per click ads and all the things and just making as many phone calls as I could. Did some door knocking, did a lot of open houses, just did things that ultimately didn't really vibe check with me. They didn't feel right. Like I always felt like I was forcing the conversation, having to really rely on scripts and, practice those scripts. And I just kind of felt like, I'm like, man, this isn't how I want to roll. I don't want to feel like I'm selling to somebody. I want to feel like I'm helping somebody. And that was kind of the paradigm shift of how the way that I run the business started. I took a look at where, kind of like a deep dive of where I got the buyers and sellers that I had the best experiences with. And I used that as like kind of a starting point of, where did I find these people? How did these people come out? And that's how I wanted to start and build a foundation of getting the same kind of feeling. What I learned was at the time, I was meeting all of these sellers and buyers at social events, whether it was at, a kid's birthday party where there's like 20 screaming little kids and all the parents are around, being forced to be friends with each other, right? Or it was at, a happy hour with friends celebrating an accomplishment, like somebody got a promotion or whatever, not like a networking happy hour, like a legit, like, hey, we're all going to happy hour. So-and-so got engaged, blah, blah, whatever it is, where there was like 20 people or more there. And it was a social environment. And I was like, God, if I can just manufacture a social environment where there's enough people that, I can talk with each one of them, but not be overwhelming. A hallmark of kind of my ADHD is that I could be overwhelming to somebody and kind of overrun a conversation. I wanted a place where there's enough people there that they could escape that conversation, still have a good time, but I can still kind of meet and socialize and kind of create that environment. So the best way that I landed on was doing community events, events where my neighbors were right around us. It was a very, very close to home pool where I had a captive audience. I didn't have to drive 3 hours. I didn't have to risk, being in a situation where there's people that might be drinking and driving or making bad decisions and being out there. It was all close to home. We all relatively knew each other. And we're in a neighborhood where people, were striving to get to know each other. Right. So that's kind of how that genesis started. And it's morphed over the years, right? Because initially it was just like, hey, I want to just hang out and party with my neighbors and friends and get to know them better and let them know what I do. And, and for the first few years, that was great because people got to hear that I was a realtor and that I sold homes and that I, what my history was, but they also got to experience kind of what it was like to have the Ryan effect, right?
So are you doing community events or you're just getting together for happy hour, at a bar by the neighborhood, or like, what are you creating to get these people together?
Where I had found those key transactions that I felt were the best ones, I met those people at bars and those events, like those other outside events. So I wanted to I created local community events in my community to simulate those kind of same environments, right?
So give us some examples of what some of the events that you put together.
Very simple. Like, I mean, it literally could be anything, but we started out with a chili cook-off. We organized a 5K turkey trot, right? Like super simple, right? A neighborhood Easter egg event or, hunt. Our community did this big 4th of July HOA sponsored, barbecue where the board members would do like hot dogs and burgers and stuff. And everybody would, come down to the pool. Well, I decided it'd be really cool to have all the kids in the neighborhood do a bike parade from the one park on the other side through the bike paths down to the pool for the HOA sponsored event. And it was amazing, right? We got to decorate bikes. We got to, meet all these people. All the kids got to come out. We put up our tent and they got to do that. And that eventually ended up turning into the HOA saying, we no longer want to sponsor a paid event with hot dogs and burgers and do that work. We're just going to let you do this bike parade at the pool instead. So kind of took that.
So
over.
you replaced the HOA.
So we replaced the HOA event.
So
it took a few years to do that, though. Right.
So, and that's what I was going to get at is, a lot of agents are watching this and be like, well, I'd love to do this neighborhood event, this community event, but how do I get people to show up to the event? Like if I did a chili cook-off and I had 2 people there, if I did the bike parade and I have 5 people there, I don't feel like I'm moving the needle to grow my business.
Yeah. I mean, our first, chili cook-off, there was like 6 people there. It was like the few houses to the left and the few houses to the right. And that was it. And it was mainly because all of our kids all played together. And that's why they were there. And then the next year we did it and there was like 30 people there because they all saw our kids playing. And it was the second year we were able to do it. And it started slow. And I think it's kind of naturally starts slow when you have those events, because you're not going to immediately just be like banging out 500 people at an event for your first time. And you kind of don't want that either, because there's been a lot of like mistakes along the way of, how to prep for something correctly, how to promote for something correctly, and how to, really get engagement on things. So over the years, learning kind of how our neighborhood responds to different messaging has increased our participation.
That's something that I've never considered is how the neighborhood responds to what you're doing, what your event, how you're communicating with them.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I learned very early on that one very important piece of our neighborhood is privacy. Right? So I took over our neighborhood Facebook page after a few years and turned it private. And when I turned it private, where nobody else who was not an owner lived in our community, all of a sudden the engagement of that page skyrocketed. And the involvement, and then the residents started coming out, and it became this place where people felt comfortable. So I'm like, gosh, people really like this private thing. So privacy is important to our neighborhood. That then showed up in the events when we were saying, hey, fill out this RSVP with your name and email and phone number and let me know how many people are coming. We would get very few people responding to the RSVPs. It'd be like,
I don't want to give you my info.
I got to put my stuff in there.
Then you're going to spam me. And
I'm good. Right.
Yeah.
And then we saw, I decided, we're going to just put this out there. We're going to make a Facebook event, put it into our page. We're not going to require any RSVPs, and we're going to guess at how many people are going to come. And for the first few, events that we did, we way over purchased for supplies and materials and things. And we just way overdid it. But it was fine. All the dry goods and stuff, we just put in the bins, saved it for the next year. So we had some stockpile of stuff. So it didn't go to waste.
Right.
But we way overestimated it. After a few years, we learned that from our actual invite or actual event page that we have, we get about 4 times as many people who RSVP.
What do you mean?
Because you can still RSVP on a Facebook page. Like, we don't require it. You can just come. We just put it out there. Everybody come. But some people are nice and they'll say, hey, we're coming.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, right? I'm going.
Yes, I'm going.
Got it.
Right? Yes, I'm going. We found that it's about 4 times as many as the yes, I'm goings. And that's just our neighborhood. We also learned is that, a big thing that I wanted to be grow into is being more of a an event from contribution than it was out of a necessity for sales. So I really wanted to turn these events into things that were benefiting the enrichment of our neighborhood. So our neighborhood was getting a value out of it. It was creating core memories for kids and families. It was a low stress type of engagement where nobody felt like they had to bring anything, do anything except for just show up, right? And also give our neighborhood some kind of clout of like, yo, we live in Cobblestone. We do some cool things here, right? Your neighborhood doesn't do this. And that was kind of where that came. So I pay for everything. We have sponsors that sometimes help. Those sponsors are never outside of our community. So they are businesses that are owned and run from residents that live in our community.
That's awesome.
Like I don't go to King Supers. I mean, it took a long time for my preferred lender to be able to get in there because she just happened to start doing so many loans and refinances. Now she feels like one of the family, right? But it took a long time for that to happen. But it's the guy who does the appliance repair, the local State Farm agent, the lady who's selling, Scentsy candles, or the unique eyelashes, or people who have the home businesses that live in the neighborhood. If we ever are going to have a sponsor, they're going to be the ones that sponsor it. And I never charge them a lot of money to sponsor anyway. It's like, throw me $100 and we'll put your name on everything and we'll be good. Right. And all of a sudden we're coming from contribution there. And it really then creates a lot of engagement.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are some of your biggest challenges that you've had to overcome?
Consistency has been a challenge. It's hard to, keep the wheel going when you don't see the results immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
so some agents like, hey, I just did the neighborhood barbecue.
Why didn't I get some sales out of this? Like I just did this bike parade. How come I'm not listing the house? Right. That especially in the beginning, that was the hardest thing, was to keep putting all of this time and effort and expense into these events and not seeing that buyer's agency agreement come out of the woodwork and that listing agreement happen, right? And it took probably 3 years to realize that people are on their own time, right? And that kind of tag teams into a little bit like we have like 50 agents that live in my neighborhood, like licensed agents that own houses in my neighborhood. And those agents have all tried to do their own events and things. And every one of those events, those agents are asking for the personal information, like give me your email, give me your phone number, give me your address, because they've been told that the number one thing to do in real estate is to feed your database. And if you're not feeding your database, it's not a successful event, right? Or you can't count that as a contact if you don't feed your database. Well, you see time after time, and these people in our neighborhood, at least, make those mistakes, and then their events never take off, but then they never do them again.
So they do it once.
They do it 3 or 4 times, maybe even. There's been one.
Oh, so there's some consistency.
There's some that's done 3 or 4 events, but every one of the events, she's always asking for all of this information and has not learned that our neighborhood specifically, they run from that. So now she stopped. Yeah, she doesn't do it anymore.
Gotcha.
Right.
So you've got your neighborhood Facebook page. Right. You're doing events in there.
Right.
What other things are you doing to grow your business?
Right. So I'm not.
So that's it.
I'm not trying to grow my business. Like that's more of the thing, is like this has become a very predictable and repeatable business where I know that these events will produce between $15 and $20 million in sales in a year, right? I don't want to work right now. I don't want to work more than that because I've got a 13-year-old and I've got a junior in high school that I'm choosing to spend all of my time, free time, going to their baseball and soccer games and giving them the attention that they want, that I feel that I want to give them, until they graduate from high school. Right. So I'm set. Like, I don't really want to grow past that right now.
Gotcha. What are some words of advice that you would give an agent that's watching us today? They're either thinking about getting in the business, they're newly licensed, they're trying to grow their business. What are some words of advice you have for them?
I should be giving advice. What are you talking about? No, I mean, if you're new and you're just getting started, the thing that is meaningful is consistency. It's knowing that this does not happen overnight. Hard work needs to go into this, and you got to grind every day. Like, this is not hey, I'm going to go put a post up and say I'm a realtor, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm landing deals, writing checks, buying Maseratis. That's not how this rolls, right? It's
You got to work.
You got to work, and you've got to be consistent, and you've got to wake up, and every day you got to do something for your business. And if you don't do something for your business, there's people like me and you that are doing something every day for our business to keep it going.
Great words of advice. I appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, man.